Before I start doing my analysis for Israel, the Palestine, I forgot to mention who's going to win in a U.S. election. Honestly, at this point, I don't know. And part of me, I kind of want Donald Trump to win. Simply because I want to get over with. Yes, probably even if let's just say for a second that Donald Trump does lose, does that mean that the GOP is now going to get better? No, it's not. They're never going to go back. The damage that Donald Trump has done is permanent. He made it the Nazis to be tolerable, and it's just going to be a matter of time that some of them will be back in power, and they're going to have some sort of lunatic be in charge. So in some sense, get off the band-aid, because the Democrats are not going to fundamentally solve anything. All they're going to do is to delay the inevitable. Any actual economic change that really needs to happen will not happen. They might do some small economic reforms, but not the economic reforms that is actually needed. They don't have the political will to get things done. All they're going to do is try to kind of stabilize the economy for the top people. Well, the bottom people, not so much. They're not going to do anything. They're going to try to make it it seems that everything's going to fine. Yes, they're being a lot of pro-union union movement there. I see a lot of Democrat. I see Joe Biden and Kamala doing picket line, and they're pushing some union legislation in. But there's just tiny changes. For example, for climate change, Kamala way to deal with climate change is, we're going to do green energy, but also going to do fracking. So she's not pushing a policy of anti-oil. Let's just try to have both worlds, and just try to give incentive in an economy for the capitalists to build. It's basically a lot of supply economics, also known as trickle-down economic. You're gonna see me talking about if you haven't seen before, I talk about neoliberalism, trickle-down economic, supply side economics. They're all the same thing. It's like in theory, like, increasing supply should reduce the cost of goods. Like in theory, that's just supposed to happen, but in practice, what the supply side economists actually want, also I like to call them trickle-down economists or fascist economists, is they want to remove any legislation that benefits the worker and gives more power to the capitalists. Like the tax plans that Kamala Harris, this is a perfect example. Is she advocating things like Medicare for all, or let's see another good one, or less ban oil, or let's reduce the military budget, or let's actually increase minimum wage. Let's give free tuition. Let's cancel debt. Like literally just forgive debt. No, she's not. Her solution is let's give tax credit. Let's give like 10,000 to business. Or if you're a first-time home buyer, we're going to give you a tax credit for it. So she's still, and we're going to build more homes. Is she advocating things like let's nationalize landlords? She's not. That's my point. It's like, yes, she's gonna like, yes, let's ban price gouging. Okay, that sounds nice. Is she's going to, on paper, is she actually going to do it? Like a lot of it, like she talks about a lot of plans that she wants to do, but is she actually going to do it? And is she, if there is something she's going to do it, to what extent? Because a lot of it gets guttered. It gets really like reduced and all that. It's so it's not going. And is she going like and a big one? So, like, is she going to undo the neoliberal era? Like literally, like undoing all the policies that Reagan done since the 1980s? No. Like, and one of the major big criteria that a lot of people don't understand that the Keynesian era did was tax, like literally taxing the rich. Is literally like we're going to bring, like FDR wanted to do 100% tax rate to the top to people like over $1 million, something like that. It's like, and remember, we're talking about $1 million back in 1930s. So in today's money, that is like literally, you're talking about a billionaire of that era. And yet, but he compromised to 90%. And of course, it's like the effective tax rate was like something like 60%, because what they did was they did all kinds of incentive to try to reduce the tax rate, to try to invest to basically try to build up their business instead of try to kind of just hoard their wealth themselves. Then under Kennedy, he brought that tax rate to 70%. Then here comes Ronald Reagan, where he brought that tax rate down to 40. Now it is in mid-20s, like 25%, 28%, and the effective tax rate is like even lowered. And then there's also some of the people on the top, like Donald Trump, who literally brag that in 12 years he only paid $412 in taxes. And a lot of other people tries to do the argument of, but 70% of all income taxes are being paid by the top 1%. I don't care. They're wealth. They pay 0% in wealth tax. Tax is a way to control the wealth of the population. And for a wage earner, somebody who is just a regular working class, their income is their wealth. While a capitalist, their wealth are their assets, and their income is for do whatever they want. They just simply in order to pay their bills for private living. But actual asset, the way they control the economy, is their assets. And all too often, how do the capitalists buy stuff? Is through their assets. To the stock market, all of those things. Their assets is what they use to control the economy. And that is something that a lot of right-wingers do not get. They do not get how the economy operates, and I am not going to get any further because I can start talking for ages. But going back to what I was saying about the elections. The elections is just going back to the election. The Democrats are just going to try to stabilize the economy. They're not going to try to help the average Joe. None of their policy are. That's what neoliberals always do. They talk about they're going to try to codify Roe v. Wade. Never did. Now that is abolished. They talk about a whole bunch of things that they're going to do, but never does. And this is where class struggle is very important, because leftists will point out it is just doing cultural war stuff. It's like bourgeois politics. You're just like you're doing just tokenization. It's like you're just saying, oh, this person here, everything's fine because we have this person in charge. Like and Kamala Harris being a black woman is a form of tokenization, because saying, look, we are the party of that we care about race, and we're trying to be diverse. That's why they talk about DEI, that kind of thing. Because after all, if we can get more women and blacks in position of leadership, or or doing more business, all that, or whatever, then everything is fine. But they're not changing anything economically. There's still the same power dynamic. It looks like their things are better, but in reality, they're not. It's just like a facade that things are getting better. But until you deal with the actual economic issues of how people deal with, then nothing is going to change. Like, an example of this is a lot of other people don't understand why Karl Marx talks about like the liberation of women, like in his writings. Like a lot of people just say like a lot of right winger would try to say, oh, see, he just wants to destroy the family unit. But what they fail to understand is the dependence. Like a lot of times, people were not marrying each other. Like, especially, you need to understand the how things were happening at that time. People were not marrying because of love, but for economic reasons. And in many times, when people get married, it was about political or economic reasons, where they will be like, by marrying this person, I will get more land, more resources. I will be more economic beneficial. And women did not really have autonomy. They were not considered a person. They were not considered. In some sense, they were considered like property. Like the dowry, for example, was a perfect illustration how women were basically, they were somewhat viewed like property. And this is a little bit complex subject that I don't really want to get into it, because there's a difference between slavery and dowry. But the short version of it is, women were not viewed like an actual commodity, but rather they're going to try to procreate, to try to establish a family. So the dowry were like, they're the guarantees that this family were able to have to live on, like to have like to create a new family. So in some sense, it's like you can say that in some level they're like truly like property, because you're trying to consolidate power to other people, to certain families, resources and whatnot. Because on the other hand, they're still not treated the same as a slave. Like their lives are no better than a regular thing to being bought and sold in the market. Anyways, I'm just going to leave it at that. And just leave it at that. Oh yes, I was talking about the class struggle. What Karl Marx and what feminism was really about is like, a woman should have the right to be able to be economically independent, to be able to make their own choice independently from the man. Does that mean that the man loses their power and it should become like the role gets reversed? No. That was never the goal of feminism. But what ended up happening with bourgeois feminism is they removed the economic aspect of it, and they're going to try to say that, oh, if they're just able to vote, or just have like abortion or that kind of things, then everything will be fine. That if they're just able to person in the market selling their labor, then everything will be fine. Without actually dealing with how without dealing their economic underlying how this whole society operates. Because just because you have another worker, it does not mean it does not mean that that their economic issues is resolved. Like nowadays, like you need about like 2-3 paychecks to survive. So just increasing labor force does not mean that you actually like everyone becomes equal. So yeah, this is exactly how the Democrat Party is doing. It's just doing like, oh look, we have the black person or women or whatever, but we're not actually dealing the fundamental issue of how the society operates. Meanwhile, the conservatives are like, oh, who cares about equality or all those jazz? Just be a slave and everything will be fine. So yeah. So ultimately, who's going to win? Honestly, I don't know. It is a fairly tight race. And I put it like 40-60 in favor of Kamala. That's my prediction. That's how I see it. But there's also the issue is, will the Republican going to try to steal the election? They tried to win it back in 2020. Ain't gonna do it again this year. Like right now, there's a poll I just recently saw. Over 70% of the Republicans who supported or said he was going to vote for Donald Trump already stated that even if Kamala wins, they're not gonna accept the election result. That's a scary thing to think about. That we already have a condition by the conservatives to not accept the election result, and we already have people saying that they're going to steal the elections for Donald Trump. That they're going to not certify the election result for the Democrats. And like, there was like a guy in Texas who outright admitted that's what he did for Donald Trump. And you have a lot more Republican. Like there's like I think it was like 70 or something like that, who already said that that's what they're going to do. So right now, there is a very, very high likelihood that the election, that even if the Democrats wins, the elections are going to be stolen underneath them. So we're going to be on a wild ride. Now, That's it for the election result. Let's talk about Israel. Okay. I have been looking a lot of lately, like liberal Zionists has been very, very active on social media lately. Like, I remember just a video. This is happening like a few months ago. Like, I don't remember exactly when, but Jesse Gender was pushed by liberal Zionists further into the right, rather being pushed further to the left. She firstly accurately described the occupation, the occupation of Israel to the Palestinians, demonstrating the history of the occupation, all of that. Then do you have a whole bunch of liberal Zionists coming in and trying to say both sides are done evil crap, which ultimately what ended up happening is this: they are denying the atrocities that Israel is committing, while pushing up the atrocity committed by resistance movements. This dynamic got into a full-blown war recently on Twitter between Ita Klein and Hassan Piker. There was like another guy who was a liberal Zionist who tried to portray Hassan Piker as some sort of Jews hater, and this is where the whole anti-Zionist, if you're anti-Zionist, you mean anti-Semitic, really comes into play. You can be anti-Zionist, but you still be pro-Jewish. And Noxenor, he's a big YouTuber, Twitch streamer, and he's a liberal Zionist. He also reacts to this controversy, which all started with Ita Klein, by the way. Also Ita Klein, he's a liberal Zionist. Also, his wife was a member of the IDF, and they have their own podcast. So you literally have these people trying to cancel Hassan Piker. What did Hassan Piker that was so controversial in their eyes? Exposing the Israel atrocities that they continue to commit, and having people that are not pro-Zionist. One of the person that he had was a Yemen kid that lives in Yemen. And he